As world middleweight champion, Marvelous Marvin Hagler had the reputation as the best fighter pound for pound in the world. A skilled boxer as well as a powerful puncher, Hagler seemed to have the perfect combination of brains and brawn. Marvelous successfully defended his title 11 straight times, and during the 80s, he was considered the most dominant fighter in the sport of boxing. On the beaches of Dana Point, California, Greatest Sports Legends host Reggie Jackson first met with this great champion. As a child growing up in the rough projects of Newark, New Jersey, Hagler learned how to use his fists as a means of survival. But it wasn't until his family moved to Brockton, Massachusetts when he became involved in the sport of boxing.
Marvelous, you moved to Brockton, Massachusetts when you were 15 years old, and soon after you were there for a while, you started working out under the guidance of the Petronelli brothers. As a young boxer, how did you go about developing your skills? What was your style?
Well, you know, actually, I think from just street fighting, I didn't really have a style at the time. By coming into the gym, I just had natural ability. And I never really knew what natural ability was. And my trainer just told me to go in the ring and just fight as if I was going to fight in the street. And then after that, he started teaching me how to develop, you know, where the punches would go. I didn't even know my right from my left. And then throw the right, I'd be the left hand, you know, until I had to start concentrating on my right hand, my left hand.
Marvelous, you started out as a left-hander. You were a southpaw. But you learned early to become a right-handed fighter. You changed your style. Why?
Well, you know what happened in the beginning, too. It was hard for me to get a fight, behind me being a lefty, you know. So I started adapting. I fought a couple of fights as right-handed. And then as I found that I had both abilities on both sides. I was ambidextrous, and I can do a little bit of everything. And I found that there was a lot of guys that had problems doing this, and I realized that then it was a gift from God that that I was very versatile to do this, and that I was able to confuse my opponents in this way.
Marvin Hagler's professional career started in 1973, and the 21-year-old middleweight proved to be a quick study. Hagler won his first 17 pro fights, 14 of them by knockouts. Marvin would go on to record impressive victories against such notable opponents as Willie the Worm Monroe, Bad Benny Briscoe, and Sugar Ray Seals. Yet it would take Marvin 6.5 years and a record of 46 wins and only 2 defeats before he received a shot at the middleweight title.
The fact that it took you so long to get a title shot, do you think it made you hungrier, meaner?
It did. I think it made me meaner. And behind the fact that me still being in a poor area, helping my mother out with my younger brothers and sisters, you know, that tendency to put that hunger into your mouth. And also from the environment, from me coming up from New Jersey. I think that's what made me meaner, knowing that the only way to make it to the top is you got to knock everybody out.
On November 30th, 1979, Marvin Hagler finally got his shot at the title when he fought middleweight champion Vito Antuofermo in Las Vegas. Although Marvin was not able to knock out the champion, it appeared to most observers that he inflicted the most damage. However, after the fight, Antuofermo retained his title when the judges scored it a draw.
I thought I won the fight. I thought Antuofermo should have gave me another fight right after that, another title fight, and instead he fought Alan Minter. And this is a guy from England. I felt as though that fight should never took place, so it made me even bitter. I went back to work. I think I knocked out about 3 or 4 different guys to put myself in that position of fighting for the title where they could not deny me a shot at the title. Then I went to London, England to fight this guy, Alan Minter. So I had that kind of thing of, I cannot let this guy stand. It's like I got to kill him.
At the start of this championship bout, the champion Alan Minter surprised everyone by coming out aggressively and trading blows with Hagler. By the 3rd round, Minter's bloody face was vivid proof that he was no match for the American. With 75 seconds left in round 3, the referee stopped the fight to have Minter examined. Despite the howling protests of the British fans, Marvin Hagler was declared the winner. What then followed had to be seen to be believed as the hysterical crowd pelted the ring with bottles and other debris. Yet the fans could not change the fact that Marvin Hagler was now the middleweight champion of the world.
Marvin, 1980, you win the world middleweight title, and as champion now you have to defend your title. What was your general attitude as you now take on all challengers?
You know, it's something that I think that what you feel is that now this guy is trying to take something away from you, you know, and you can't let it happen. And by you being world champion, now you have more responsibility. You represent your own country, and you know, and you know this guy here is going to come out there and try to tear your head off now because he wants it.
On June 13, 1981, Hagler defended his title against Vito Antuofermo, the man who fought Hagler to a draw when Marvin was just a contender. Hagler avenged that decision when Antuofermo was unable to continue after the 5th round. His next title defense came against Mustafa Hamsho, and once again Hagler demonstrated why he was reputed as the master of disaster.
Hagler backing up Hamsho once again. Working the body well. Good combination by Hagler, backs up Hamsho. Hamsho is staggered, trying to hold on. Another good right hand by Hagler. Hamsho trying to tie him up, but Hagler won't let him do it. And the referee steps in and stops the fight. Marvelous Marvin Hagler has retained his undisputed middleweight championship of the world.
Marvelous, inside the ring, your appearance is menacing. You shaved your head. You have a tremendous physique, muscles bulging all over the place. Was intimidation part of your strategy?
No, not really. As far as my bald head look was, it's a good luck charm to me. Just the reporters was the one that was putting that menacing look on me. You know, the menacing, that didn't really scare the opponent because after the first round, the opponent, that's not even going to bother him.
Mm-hmm. What about the fact that I believe that you're really a little bald and you shaved your head just to make yourself look better?
Well,
but,
you know, Reggie,
but you really don't have much hair.
No, Reggie, you know, I think you're a little jealous because you're getting there. You know, no, I have hair, you know, and I just like it this way because my wife think I look sexy in it, and I kind of like it because I don't have to be arguing for the brush or the comb in the morning. I just get up and wash my whole face.
Perhaps because of Hagler's menacing appearance and renowned punching power, it was easy to overlook the fact that he was also a skillful boxer. In his fight with Tony Simpson, the European champion, Hagler completely outclassed his opponent.
Plenty of time left in this round. Hagler trying to finish off Simpson right here, working him over with rights and lefts. Simpson trying to fight off the champ. Hagler lands a good right hand that staggers Tony Simpson, and down he goes. Referee Carlos Padilla sending Marvin Hagler to a neutral corner. Simpson is on his feet, but he's out on his feet, and Carlos Padilla stops the fight. It's all over. Marvelous Marvin Hagler has won again. What a boxing exhibition we've seen from the champion tonight.
You really were a skilled boxer, a guy that really knew all about the fight game. Tell me about the contradictory image that you had. People thought you were just a slugger, but you really knew the fight game well.
No, I think what I had to do was basically adapt to my opponent, and I think I had another thing of that inside feeling of what he most likely would do, and that was another way of my advantage because I was very versatile, so I was able to adapt.
You could adjust just about to anyone's particular style.
Yes, and I think that's what made me successful.
Soon after he became the world middleweight champion, Hagler had his name legally changed to read Marvelous Marvin Hagler. And marvelous was as good as any other word to describe the way he defended his title. In his first 7 title defenses, Hagler knocked out all 7 opponents.
Right-handed, it hurts Scipion. He's backed up into his own corner. Hagler lands again, and down goes Wilfred Scipion.
By destroying Wilfred Scipion in the 4th round of their title fight, Hagler had taken on all the top contenders in his division. Now the question was raised, who was left to challenge the great Marvelous Marvin Hagler?
Marvelous, 1980, you become world middleweight champion, take on all comers. You defend your title 7 times, win all by knockout. Then all of a sudden you start talking about retirement at such a young age. Why?
Well, I felt that I ran out of opponents, you know, and so I couldn't get the big fights with Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, or Thomas Hitman Hearns. Leonard wouldn't fight me. Hearns wouldn't fight me. Roberto Duran was the only one that finally came up to give me an opportunity. I just knocked out everybody else that was there, and I didn't really want to repeat myself again because it would look very bad. Larry Holmes has had bad times like that. And you don't want to be called, you know, fighting the bums of the month again. And, you know, where was these guys coming from that they meant nothing and I wasn't able to make a real serious payday? The big paydays were going to come with the fights like the Roberto Durans and the Leonards and the Hearns.
On November 10th, 1983, Marvelous Marvin Hagler took on the legendary Roberto Duran in a bout that would guarantee the champion a purse of $5 million. In fighting Duran, Hagler would be testing his skills against a former world champion who had 55 knockouts under his belt.
I thought it was a treat of being there with a 3-time world champion and taking him to school and showing him that he was just as good. As you know, Roberto Duran, every fighter that he's fought, he's never gained him any kind of respect. After the fight, he talks about him. He you know, he's very dirty and everything like that. And I wanted to make him respect me.
The fight went the full 15 rounds, and in a unanimous decision, Hagler retained the World Middleweight Championship. However, many fans of the champion were disappointed that Hagler was unable to knock out Roberto Duran.
Going into that fight, I felt as though that I could knock Roberto Duran out. I still gave Roberto Duran a lot of credit behind the fact that he was the first one to have guts enough to come out of and fight me. And I think that was great that the fight went 15 rounds because what had happened was then it was able to sucker in more bait for me.
The next big fish Hagler was able to reel in was Thomas the Hitman Hearns, the junior middleweight champion, who had the punching power of a heavyweight. To promote their fight, Hagler and Hearns toured the country together, and during that time, genuine animosity developed.
I didn't like Tommy at all. You know, I didn't like his personality. Thought he was very cocky, and Tommy didn't like me. He told me he was going to knock my bald head off, and I like that kind of talk. I mean, it got my adrenaline flowing to let's do it. You know, let's stop all this talking and let's just do it.
The fight took place on April 15th, 1985 in Las Vegas, and from the opening bell, Hagler and Hearns went toe-to-toe. In round 3, the action continued at a furious pace.
Hagler keeps stalking Tommy Hearns. Another right hand lands, and that one shook up Tommy Hearns. He tries to tie up Hagler. Referee Richard Steele steps in. Hagler keeps moving in. Hearns backing up, trying to keep Hagler off him. Another right hand lands. Hearns smiles, but he may have been hurt by that right hand. Hearns continues to back up. A right hand staggers Tommy Hearns. Hagler chases him. Hagler trying to finish him off, lands another right hand, and Tommy Hearns crumbles to the canvas. Richard Steele with the count. Hearns looks up, trying to turn over, trying to get up to beat the count. The count is 7. Tommy Hearns staggers to his feet, but he's wobbly, and Richard Steele stops the fight. It's all over.
That fight for 3 rounds is one of the most devastating fights that people have ever seen or witnessed. You guys came out just throwing bombs from the opening bell. What was your point of view of that fight?
I felt the same way. I thought it was a very good, strenuous. We both worked very hard for 2 months, I believe. We both gave it all in all, and the fight turned out to be a war behind, you know, if Tommy was to beat me, he would take my title away from me, and you cannot take my title away from me. You're going to have to knock me out to take my title from me.
2 years later, Marvelous Marvin Hagler would defend his title against Sugar Ray Leonard, the former welterweight champion, who had come out of retirement. This long-awaited confrontation would be billed as the ultimate showdown.
Marvelous, this next segment, I want you to get ready for a pretty boy. We're going to talk about Sugar Ray Leonard. You want to get your hair ready?
Yeah, I should, you know.
You hit comb back?
Right time.
You got it going back?
Nah, everything's all set now.
1987, your old nemesis came out of retirement to challenge you for your title, Sugar Ray Leonard. Seems to me that you've always had a genuine dislike for Leonard. Why?
Naturally, well, I think he's Mr. TV personality, you know. He's an imitation of a Muhammad Ali. But, you know, I've always wanted to fight him because he felt as though that he could beat me. You know, so what I wanted to do was to give him that opportunity to let's find out. Let's see if you can.
During the early rounds of the fight, marvelous Marvin Hagler spent most of his energy trying to catch the elusive challenger, who employed a hit-and-run strategy designed to frustrate the champion. But late in the fight, Leonard slowed down and Hagler began to land the more effective punches. Sugar Ray Leonard managed to survive the 12 rounds, and in a split decision, the deciding vote would come as a shock to the middleweight champion.
And Judge Dave Maroney scores 115, 113. By the winner, by a split decision, and new middleweight champion of the world, Sugar Ray Leonard.
I could not understand how can you win a championship fight by running, you know, and I think that you would have to beat the champion decisively, to knock him down or to knock him out. You know, you just can't beat, you know, he's the challenger and I'm the champion. How can you take a title away from a champion like that on a one-point system? It's not like that. But behind it being Sugar Ray Leonard, and behind the fact that I think they wanted, if this fight here was going to happen, they had it all made up that Marvin Hagler would come back. Again, they would make, the people would make bigger money the next fight. Unfortunately, I didn't like what the alternatives came out because I know I whooped him. He knew I whooped him. He told me himself, he says, hey, you beat me, babe. And one thing that I found out from that night, that no matter what you do, no matter what these people do, they cannot take out of here. You can take away my belt, you can take away the victory from me, but you cannot take what I have in here of knowing that I whooped this man.
After Hagler's fight with Leonard, he retired from boxing and began a new career as an actor, starring in feature films. If Marvelous is only half as successful as an actor as he was as a boxer, his name will be in lights for a long, long time.
Marvelous, I think it will go down in history that you were not only one of the greatest middleweight champions in the world, but one of the most charismatic fighters that ever came on the boxing scene. You were a guy that the American people loved to watch. I mean, you really looked like what everyone thinks a fighter should be, and I think that that's one thing that all of sports do miss when a guy like you does retire. I want to thank you for coming down to the Dana Point Resort and sharing the insights of your career on Greatest Sports Legends. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Rich.
Appreciate it.
Nice to be here.